towards the west, and a squeeze in the ice bars indicating some stronger winds. So as we go through the rest of Saturday evening, then outbreaks of rain already across parts of Northern Ireland. That will move its way eastwards, affecting much of Wales into northern England and into Scotland. As we go through the night, the heaviest rain will be across the far southeast of Northern Ireland, so across the Mourne Mountains. That's where we have a weather warning in force. Otherwise, stronger winds, a lot of cloud around, temperatures holding up, so a mild start to Sunday morning. Across Orkney and Shetland then to start Sunday morning, largely dry here, a few showers across Shetland, but otherwise across much of Scotland, outbreaks of rain. Again, heaviest rain across Northern Ireland persisting through much of the morning. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain also very heavy across the far southwest of Wales and Devon and Cornwall. Cloudy skies across the far southeast, but largely dry here to start. But as we go through Sunday morning and into the afternoon, this band of rain will continue to push its way eastwards, accompanied by some stronger winds, perhaps even coastal gales towards the west. So an unsettled end to Sunday afternoon for many of us. Temperatures holding up around 15 or 16 degrees, perhaps feeling a little bit more humid, but otherwise some brighter skies across Northern Ireland and the far southwest of England as we end Sunday. Now, this band of rain will continue to push its way north and eastwards, followed by showers, and that's the theme as we go through Monday and Tuesday. Heavy spells of showers, but also some sunny spells in between, perhaps some longer spells of rain by midweek.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends.
Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good evening and welcome to the biggest show on Saturday night UK TV. It's the Saturday 5 live from the GB News studios in London, England. I'm Will Kingston, delighted to be joined by Dr. Renee Honderkamp, Alex Armstrong, returning fan favourite Bruce Hamill, and once again, because we can't get rid of him, hi Will Shaw. Tonight on the show, the obligatory good riddance to Prince Andrew.
I wish the government would just step out of our lives.
Rachel Reeves is going to raise energy bills with wealth taxes to pay for net zero.
Jews aren't welcome in some areas of the UK. And stop using China as a stick to beat Starmer.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5. An early comment from Grumpy Grandad. Will, just don't mention Prince Andrew, digital ID and the football match. We would be really grateful. Good to see that we're hitting the issues that the audience wants. But one thing about the Saturday 5 is we will give you the insight that you will not get anywhere else. Of course, we want to know your views, even if they are the views that suggest the topics that you don't want us to talk about. Please get in touch. gbnews.com/your say. We'll have our classic Saturday scrap as well, which you can vote on. gbnews.com/poll. Get in, ask us anything, nothing's off limits. But before we start tearing each other apart, ladies and gentlemen, it's your Saturday night news.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who accused Prince Andrew of sexually abusing her when she was a teenager, says she's been vindicated by the stripping of his royal titles. Prince Andrew is to stop using all of his royal honours, including the Duke of York, saying repeated headlines about him are distracting from the work of the king. But he continues to deny any wrongdoing. Andrew had already been stripped of several titles as a result of his connections to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Virginia Giuffre took her own life earlier this year, and her memoir is due to be released on Tuesday. President Donald Trump is urging Ukraine to make a deal with Russia to end the war. Volodymyr Zelensky was hoping to use yesterday's meeting at the White House to secure Tomahawk missiles and offered thousands of Ukrainian drones in exchange. Meanwhile, Trump has confirmed another summit with Vladimir Putin will be held in Budapest, although he suggested Zelensky won't be directly involved in those discussions. The Home Office says it expects to hold a meeting next week to address a ban on Israeli football fans attending a game against Aston Villa in November. It wants police to set out extra resources needed to allow the game to go ahead safely. Birmingham Council banned Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters over safety concerns after classifying the game as high risk. It's after violence occurred during a Europa League match between Ajax and Maccabi in Amsterdam last year. A new blood test could help speed up diagnosis for more than 50 types of cancer. That's according to a new study in the US, which found the Gallery test picks up cancer cases at an early stage when the disease is more treatable. The test, which is also highly accurate at ruling out cancer, is being trialled on the NHS. Ange Postecoglou has been sacked as head coach of Nottingham Forest after less than 40 days in the position. The announcement came after the side's 3-0 defeat against Chelsea at the City Ground, adding to the no-win streak of the last 8 matches. Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis is now on the hunt for a third manager already this season. And 2 British women have become the first all-female rowing crew to travel 8,000 miles across the Pacific non-stop and unsupported. Jess Rowe and Miriam Payne arrived on Australia's east coast this morning after a gruelling 6-month journey from Peru. They'll speak to GB News tomorrow morning on Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. Congratulations to them. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GBNews, the People's Channel. I myself have just raced from the Eurostar, having been in Amsterdam for a few days. So if I'm not at my insightful, sharpest best, I apologise in advance. But you know the one thing which was so nice being in Amsterdam? Isn't it nice having a government that doesn't interfere in absolutely every single little thing that you do in your life? And Renee, I know tonight you are just absolutely sick and tired of it, aren't you?
I'm done, Will, to steal a phrase from you. I really am.
You're talking about the Netherlands?
Yeah. Well, there's some things you're allowed to do anyway that potentially you're not allowed to do here. But anyway.
Have you been smoking all day?
You know, I'm on a national television show and that would incriminate me, but anyway. That's the problem with this show. Sometimes that you forget that there are people watching on the other side and you can get in trouble. But no, we are going to be, well, no, I was going to say we're going to be on our best behaviour, but how boring would that be? We will be the Saturday 5 that you all know and love over the next 3 hours. The biggest debates, the hottest topics and the most entertaining interviews. I will crack on with our first debate. Unfortunately, Grumpy Grandad, yes, I will be starting with Prince Andrew because whether you like it or not, this is an enormous story. First Prince history to have his title stripped in this way. And the royal family and the monarchy is the institution that has bound this country together for hundreds, thousands of years. This was the right decision. Of course, it was a decision that was long overdue. The survival of the monarchy is so closely tied to public consent and to popularity, and that public popularity has declined in recent years for a variety of reasons. Andrew has done more than any other to bring the monarchy into disrepute. This is a good result, but it needs to be the start. This needs to be the tipping point moment where the royal family says, if we do not change, the royal family will fade into obscurity. I'm not suggesting a Cromwellian situation, but I'm suggesting a situation in which the royal family will lose its lustre as the binding thread that ties together the United Kingdom. So you know what that means? It means A, boot Andrew out of the free house, make sure that he gets absolutely no perks. B, make sure that Harry and Meghan cop the same treatment. C, make sure that we get no more wokery from a king that seems far too happy to promote woke interests. And D, and wouldn't this be nice, from the royal family, promote British values and fearlessly defend the United Kingdom as opposed to every other globalist interest that seems to come out of the mouths of too many members of the royal family. This is an important moment, ladies and gentlemen. Renee.
So I can't argue with anything you said there. I do think this is an important moment, but I think in a way more tangential to that. I think that this is yet another bit of fallout from the Epstein files that we haven't yet seen, and there's much more to come down that train. And I just wonder how many people at the top of the global pyramid are going to fall the same way as Prince Andrew, because I think he would not have done this if there were not much, much more to come from those files.
Are you going to call Renee a conspiracy theorist, Kai, or do you think there's something to that?
I've been indulging in a bit of conspiracy theory myself. I was wondering whether this is just the shot across the bows to depose a prince.
Not Charles I, mate.
No, not quite. Depose a prince and let the billionaires know who's really in charge. But because it's the Epstein estate, of course, that has these emails. No, but this is a really interesting debate because it calls into question the whole constitutional settlement of the UK. The fact is, we think we have an unstable government, but the royal family, by dint of its being, you get who you've got, right? You basically might get an idiot, you might get somebody who's right as rain, like Elizabeth II was. But it matters who you have, and it's quite ridiculous, it seems to me, that we're at the mercy of a family that, has had its moments in the past, and this is one of those moments. But I think they are really at threat here, because people are going to be questioning that and questioning the relevance of the monarchy at a time when actually we need a bit better.
This is the question, Alex. Was I being overly dramatic there, and is Kai being overly dramatic in saying that the royal family are in any real threat in terms of its existential existence?
Listen, the royal family has almost survived 1,000 years in this country. It'll be 2066 they will celebrate William the Conqueror's invasion and crowning as monarch of this entire country. And they have survived far worse. We've survived Henry VIII. We've survived crises of who is going to take the throne. We've had to import royals and the throne has still existed. We've gone through a revolution and it's been reversed. This is nothing in the grand scheme. An institution so powerful, so established. And we talk about British values. Yes, I can see there are some criticisms of the way that things have been handled, but the Queen herself never made some big gestures about our values in this country. What she did do was promote them through her work and her tireless work. Unfortunately, we do have an old king, and an old king can't have the impact necessary. I hope that, and I think that William will be a radical king, and I think we'll see a new monarchy reborn.
Bruce, do you care about this?
Do you know what? That is exactly what I was going to chime in with. No, I don't. No, I don't. Because, and it seems that the only time that Andrew's given any relevance is around controversy. And I kind of resonate with what Alex said there. I personally think when we had Queen Elizabeth, she came in as a young queen. She saw out the best part of a century, let's be fair. And I think they need to modernise. I think they need to be more in touch with Britain. I think they need to be more in touch with, let's call it, their subjects, because effectively that's what we are if we're under a royal constitution. I just think they're completely out of touch. I think, and I do want the day that William comes. Someone who's young, but is he just going to be following that same narrative that we see from Chuck?
It's central.
Yeah, problem with that word modernise. I think they're going to modernisable. Someone else can work out the exact word. But I don't want a progressive monarchy. The whole point is that they're
No, I didn't mean progressive. I didn't mean like getting in touch with wokeness and stuff like that. I just mean being more in touch with the realities that I think a lot of us see. With society, with what's going on in the actual country, stepping into the 21st century, into 2025, and looking at the issues that we have here in the United Kingdom.
I think what they have to do is what they do. I think they have to bring tourists into the country, promote Britain, and then let the government run. Because who would we have, Kai? If we didn't have a monarchy, what would we have? An elected president like Macron, for example?
Well, we would have.
Well, perhaps, but that would be. But the point is, what you've all been saying is, we're at the mercy of whoever gets to be king, and so you get their views as well, and that's what, to their detriment, you say that we have in King Charles. But then also, what you're saying is that we have a system that means our head of state is distanced and detached from the people. Well, duh, it's a royal family.
Yeah.
So actually having an elected head of state would much better answer all the criticisms you just raised. Alex, just finally, what you just said, oh, it's existed 1,000 years, that is not an argument for keeping it.
No,
No, it isn't.
May I just very briefly mine? Alex, because I think it is important, and I think the 1,000 years says something about the love that we have for that institution and the importance it has to the cultural fabric of our society. As soon as you replace that establishment with an elected head of state, of which we will have multiple antagonisers getting that role over time, which will divide this country even further. No matter what you think of King Charles, most people don't really care about his green agenda very much, and he's not pushing it very, very hard, by the way. He's not Greta Thunberg. He does care about it, clearly, but he's not pushing it down or shoving it down our throats. However, the point is that actually he could be saying other things, couldn't he? And he doesn't have to. And I like the fact that he doesn't.
Kai's attitude is representative of the left. They want to tear down everything that we have built up over hundreds of years. That's what makes us special in order to create their Marxist utopia.
No.
What is it, Renee? What is it about people like Kai that makes them so intent on tearing down Western civilization and our values?
Well, I mean, I think how long have we got?
Who's being dramatic now, Will?
I mean, how long have we really got? Because they never seem to worry. They do. A lot of the left, let's say a lot of the left, do want to tear down all of these establishments, but they never seem to have any thought for where that has gone before. And there's always plenty of examples where places have got rid of Spain, got rid of their monarchy, France, got rid of their monarchy, and it's never gone terribly well. So they never have an answer for that, and they never have a solution that looks anywhere near close to satisfying the people or them at the end of the day.
Look, I'm not a constitutional expert, am I? None of us are. I'm not saying that having an elected head of state would always be better, but all the things that you've mentioned, there's no reason why having a monarchy, a constitutional monarchy, is definitely better than all the rest of the ideas. And actually, just based on what you've all said, maybe don't like some of what King Charles says. They need to be better, more aligned with people. Well, monarchy is just constitutionally set up not to do that. They are meant to be distanced. You're meant to think that they're these godly human beings who don't have anything to do with hoi polloi.
Nobody had any problem with the Queen, did they?
Bruce,
but that's the problem. Because you shouldn't be at the mercy of whether the Queen is good or the King is bad, or whether you agree with the Queen or agree. It shouldn't be at the mercy of that. You should get a choice in a democracy.
No, because it doesn't matter. We are not at the mercy.
Yes, it does, because you're saying it matters.
Queens for the last 200 years have been very, very apolitical on 90% of issues in this country. And we have been fine with that, by the way, Kai. Yes, King Charles, you might suggest he is the most political of them recently, but actually, I would say if you polled most of this country still, they would prefer to have him as monarch over your bloke, Keir Starmer.
Because they agree with
Because
they agree with the green agenda.
David Lammy, ring a bell.
I would argue that Queen Elizabeth represented more of how Britain was than Charles ever
She was a once in a
will.
century's monarch.
But it would have been nice if that had passed down through her bloodline.
To round this out, Renee, I said that they should do the same thing to Harry, should they?
Yes.
Anyone disagree with Renee?
Yeah, I do disagree. Harry hasn't done anything wrong. Hang on.
GBNews.com/you'll say. Go on, Alex.
He hasn't done anything illegal. He hasn't been dragged through the court. So I don't think we should strip him of his titles. He is the son of the king. I do not agree with Harry's life and the way he has treated this country, nor do I like the way his wife has treated this country. But no, he does not deserve the same. This punishment is reserved for very nasty few individuals who have done bad things like Andrew. We can't just start weaponising it against everyone. We just decide we don't like all of us.
Oh, you got so soft ever since you became a presenter.
It's just pragmatic.
Anyway, I was actually thinking that we should boot Andrew out of the Royal Lodge and put him in a four-berth motorhome.
He does pay for that,
Yeah, I know. And he also doesn't deserve a four-berth motorhome. It is too good a prize to give to Prince Andrew because it really is a wonderful prize. Time is ticking away for your chance to win the biggest prize, as I've said, not just in the history of GB News, but in the history of UK television. £30,000 in tax-free cash and a four-berth motorhome. This is all you need. This is all the details you need for your chance to make it yours.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat at this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
For legal reasons, the producers have firmly told me to say that it may not be, or it is not, the biggest prize in the history of UK television, but it's certainly my favourite. Coming up, Kai, what do you have after the break?
Well, I'm going to be talking to the viewers about how this China spy scandal really has nothing to do with Keir Starmer.
So our comedy segment coming up soon. You're with Saturday 5 Live with GBNews.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, the People's Show on the People's Channel. Please get in contact with us, gbnews.com/your say. Interesting comment from Scott Porter. Kai forgets that we did get rid of the monarchy under Cromwell. Worked out so well that we brought it back pretty much straight away after he died. Historical precedent there for you, Kai. On the subject of Kai, Kai will be our next debate, and as usual, Kai is proving my long-held theory that lefties inevitably dress worse than right-wing people on GBNews.
No, that is true. I mean, I think the viewers don't like their left-wingers clean and nicely dressed. But I'm going to be talking about this China spy scandal and why really blaming Keir Starmer for this is a complete reach by the right wing. Now, this, I don't know about you, but for me, this is exactly the kind of scandal that I find pretty impenetrable. It's full of procedural detail and legalese, and it's difficult to really care. The long and the short of it, as I can gather, is this. There's a political row over the sudden collapse of a case involving 2 Chinese spies who were in our own Mother of Parliaments. Questions for the CPS about why they didn't proceed with this case, questions around potential influence by Labour ministers and advisors around this case, and trying to focus on growth and so on, rather than proceed and call China an enemy. And it's a sort of who knew what when. I find it incredibly dull. But it does matter, because, you know, it's all about the power, known and unknown, that other states have in our affairs. And a story that came out recently shows how China is taking from the Russian tactic of infiltrating spies throughout our civil society and our politics. You know, there's the Scunthorpe Steelworks that are part owned by a Chinese company, this new embassy that may be built on top of important cables that host very important secretive data, sanctioning MPs who visit China, cyber attacks. We know China is a geopolitical enemy. But at worst, all Keir Starmer is to blame for is continuing a consensus that successive Conservative governments have accepted, which says that investment and trade are a useful trade-off for some of our sovereignty. So blaming Starmer for this consensus is a joke.
So, Alex, to paraphrase from what I just heard from Kai, all a bit too complicated, a bit too much detail, a bit too dull for me, so really we shouldn't worry about it. Starmer's off the...
No, you shut up.
Fair enough.
You shut up now. You've had your say, Kai. Listen, I mean, what a ridiculous state of affairs the left are in this country. I mean, it was all... Well, guess what wasn't dull to them? Someone having a birthday cake in Downing Street. That wasn't dull whatsoever. But national security, China spying us, that's dull, ladies and gentlemen. That says a lot about the left of this country. The reality is that they are in a checkmate position, aren't they? They can't criticise China because it will collapse what's left of the economy after Labour have finished it off, frankly. I mean, the Tories did a pretty bad job, but Labour has finished it off now. And so they can't criticise China. They can't get rid of it. They can't rebirth the spy scandal because it'll indict them in it. They've messed up. The Prime Minister knows he's messed up here, and he's using clever technical legal lawyer lingo to try and waddle out of it. Well, I'm telling you, the British public aren't buying it, frankly.
Yeah, and actually, Kai, I'm going to pull you up on 2 things. China hasn't stolen anything from Russia, let me tell you, because anybody who's actually taken some time to look at this, go away and read Hidden Hand, which was published a couple of decades ago. It is their playbook. They knew what they were doing. They know exactly what they're doing. It's all laid out for us to see, but still we ignored it until it's too late. But we're going to hear more about that later, I know. But the other thing you've said, which is absolutely astounding, is that the Tories screwed it up, so what can they do? Just carry on screwing it up?
No,
I thought that this was a change government. I thought they were coming in to change things.
For the worse.
I agree with Renee there, because I really do get annoyed with this constant, there's a Labour government in, we're going to blame the Tories for everything. Well, sorry, but the Labour preceded them for 13 years as well. And to say that something like this has become institutionalised, which it is, we see scandals and things like this all the time. This has been decades. This is decades of problems of allowing these people into our country, allowing them... I mean, we can look at the government ourselves with the way they mishandle secret documents, they mishandle laptops. This isn't just one government that have done this. This is systematic across all governments. Yeah,
I agree with you, but I just think this is a continuation of a sorry state of affairs. But also,
there has to be some accountability. Who's the most accountable person
here? We're talking about trade-offs here. And would you then have China take away all its trade and investment in the UK as a trade-off? So yes, you would.
We talked about this in that comprehensive thrashing I gave the Kai and the Saturday Scrap last week, Alex.
Yeah.
Why do you think we're not taking the threat from China as seriously as we should?
Well, we are unfortunately beholden by them to them. We are threats, yes, because our economy now is completely globalised, and therefore we don't even own our nuclear facilities, for example, which you correctly pointed out. We do need to renationalise things in this country, and I've been saying that for a very long time. And it's the globalisation of this country that has failed us.
How does that marry up with your otherwise right-wing views?
Well, I think it's perfectly acceptable. I believe in elements of nationalisation in the country. Capitalism can work, but it shouldn't work for everything. Water, security,
regulated capitalism.
Yes,
there's a difference.
The good litmus test is
regulated capitalism.
We go to war with anybody. Could we survive in a war? That's the litmus test for capitalism.
Well, and actually, marrying what you said to Kai's very last statement is, we can give up some of our sovereignty as a bit of a trade.
Not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying that is the trade-off, and politicians of all stripes have made that trade-off. And so my question to you is, would you give up all that trade and investment? Renee said yes. You've been in business. Will's been in business. Is that a yes?
I've been in business.
Give up all your. So, but they're currently doing that. I mean, you're currently service.
I tell you what I'd say to that, Kai. I'd say, you have to then weigh up what is the long-term risk of this country, and would you prefer to have hard punishment for ourselves now for making a very bad mistake, which David Cameron and successive Tory prime ministers and now the Labour government have all bowed down to, and let that get worse, or would you let to suffer in the short term and go to America?
Suffer in the short term,
and go,
even more.
Listen, Trump, we're in trouble. We have got to get China out of our country. Will you help us? They're just given Argentina $20 billion.
So you're just talking about being beholden.
Yeah, I think the Americans would be far happier with us saying we're booting China out. Come help us. They go, absolutely, we're here.
So this is replacing like for like, being beholden to one country, being beholden to another.
Because we're talking about an ally that we've had since World War I, since the creation of America, give or take, our past. They're our cousins.
China have people sleeping on their streets because they cannot get enough points on their social credit system, Kai. I don't think that would happen if we allied with America. We are in danger of it happening when China take us over, and we are now at a perilous position where our debt position to China is so great, and this is in their playbook. Make a country so beholden to you that when they can't pay their debt, you take a chunk of it.
That's right, and there will be geopolitical problems in the Taiwan Strait before the decade is out, in my opinion, and unfortunately I think too many people have their heads in the sand. Renee, what have you got for us coming up after the break?
I have been exhausted this week by the government overreach in all of our lives, and I just want to get it off my chest.
A Renee rant, I cannot wait. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GBNews.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The best place to be across the Mediterranean at the moment is Italy. A lot of fine weather following some wet conditions earlier in the week. That wet weather now moving into Greece, and another spell of rain on the way for parts of Portugal, northwest Spain as well. A damp spell here, but with southwesterly winds, temperatures actually above average. And then this gap in systems through the central part of the Mediterranean. Plenty of sunshine through Italy. Rain clouds clearing into Greece. Very wet indeed for Athens.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure is returning, bringing outbreaks of rain and stronger winds, followed by blustery showers as we go through tomorrow and into the new week. So we lose this area of our high pressure. That's moving its way eastwards, replaced by low pressure out to the west. So back to the rest of this evening. The clearest skies and holding on to the driest conditions across eastern areas. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain, heaviest and most persistent, moving in from the west, especially across Northern Ireland and the far southwest into Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, with the strong winds, the cloud, the outbreaks of rain, it is going to be a mild start to Sunday morning. So having a look at Sunday morning across Scotland, that's where we hold on to some glimmers of brightness first thing across the far north, but out to the west, that's where we're already seeing outbreaks of rain. Now, the heaviest rain is going to be across Northern Ireland, most persistent here, especially to the south and east. That's where there is a yellow Met Office warning, where we could see some localised flooding in places. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain again across western areas, but drier to the southeast of England to start Sunday morning. But that will soon be replaced by cloud and outbreaks of rain as this band of rain pushes its way north and eastward. So as we come into Sunday afternoon, many places seeing a pretty unsettled end to the weekend. But there will be some glimmers of sunshine just coming in to the far southwest of England and Northern Ireland later on in the day. Otherwise, temperatures holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So through Monday, we hold on to the area of low pressure, some strong winds across the south, but also some blustery showers, heavy and possibly thundery, driest across Scotland, where we'll see some sunshine. We'll hold on to some showers on Tuesday, but generally a bit drier, and then some longer spells of rain for some of us on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, the People Show on the People's Channel. Thank you for your messages so far. Paul has just reached out. Oh, great! Bruce is on the panel.
Oh, so thank you very much, Paul.
You've got a fan in Paul. How are you, Bruce?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Had a bit of trouble with my internet over the last 3 days. I'm sure everybody knows about it.
Well, I think that would be a wonderful and very exciting topic of conversation for the audience, but we don't have enough time, so we'll move on. Patrick O'Sullivan says something interesting. This is why reform is the only option. I think he's talking just generally about the topics we're covering. This is why reform is the only option. We are fighting for the soul of these islands. You hear more and more now, you hear more and more people not just talking about tax policy, immigration policy, the NHS. There's these deeper terms now, the soul of the nation, that sort of thing. Do you think, Renee, that is overstating, or do you think that's the case?
No, not at all. I think we absolutely are fighting for our lives to retain the soul of this country.
I totally agree with Renee. Yeah, we really are. We have to do more doom loop otherwise, aren't we?
Well, at GB News, we will be fighting for the soul of this nation every single day. Before we do, however, Renee, what have you got for us?
I'm going to kick off, am I?
I'd love you to kick off.
OK. So I've been really tired this week, really, really tired. And I just wanted to talk about it. I've been properly tired, not the need a nap kind of tired, but the state is slowly sucking every last bit of freedom and agency out of me kind of tired. Everything's controlled, banned or about to be. I'm tired of working harder and harder and ending up with less. Tired of paying more taxes, getting less in return. Tired of government deciding what my child learns about sex, family and everything else at school and treating me like an interfering bystander. I'm tired of being told that maybe I won't even get a pension, the one that I've slogged decades for. I'm tired of owning a car that I love, but I can't actually drive it meaningfully. 24 miles an hour, wrong turn here, wrong road there, wrong day, wrong engine, flash, another fine. I'm tired of being told that my boiler has to go, that I can't fly, can't eat meat, can't burn coal, can't use petrol. Then apparently everything I learnt at medical school is now wrong think. Facts, offensive. Biology, optional. And heaven forbid that I might call a spade and feel the heavy hand of the law. And the worst bit? My daughter will grow up not even knowing the joys that she has lost. She won't drive a car, she won't own anything, she won't work in the way that we understand work, that fulfilling work. This global overreaching, ever more autocratic and controlling government is sucking the fun and spontaneity out of life with every last ounce of freedom. It is exhausting.
Renee, well said. Bruce, in 1916, in 1940, you had
old.
If you can remember back for me,
back to the 40s.
You had hundreds and thousands of British men who would run into machine gun fire because they believed that there were things that were more important than safety. They believed that liberty was more important than safety. Something has happened. There's been an inversion. Now we look at liberty as a second-order priority compared to the safety that Renee just mentioned. How has that happened?
Consistently poor governments, consistently bowing to minority needs, forgetting what the backbone of this country is, which is the working class, construction, the blue-collar jobs, the people that go out every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're forgetting, I think they're forgetting what family life is, what it is to enjoy life, what people need to do that. People have just systematically for me, it's since 1997 predominantly, that there has just been a decline, a massive rise in national debt, a decline in social standards, a decline in living standards, which never, ever, ever seems to get better. And the worst thing is I would say the British people have a strong constitution. They stand proud, but we're getting to a point in society now where people are in despair. Lots of people are in despair, and they're crying out to see, when is this going to end? When is the good thing coming? And all we're told is everything's wrong. And then we never get any good news because come November, we're all going to get bad news.
Just quickly, just so I can understand the authoritarian instinct, why is it the left seems to be getting more and more authoritarian, Kai?
I don't think it is. I think it's a function of how the world operates these days, and that governments actually, instead of really quite deep and fundamental change, which may well be what's needed and what many Brits increasingly are turning to, they tinker around the edges or sort of try to affect outcomes and things like that, and legislate around what you can and can't do and things like that. And
I mean, that is
add on to this, layer on top of this, the fact that we live our lives on technologies that can be maybe used for ill, but also that run our lives. So things like digital ID you see as an authoritarian nightmare, but the fact of the matter is it's the way the world is going. So I think we're also at the mercy.
We cannot just accept it's the way the world is going.
No, I know
the way the world is going because of progressives like you who want to actually put this forward all of the time. I was speaking to somebody earlier about this, a very special friend of mine who will know who they are, who is looking into this. And actually, Tony Blair embedded laws that mean that we have to consider every multicultural aspect of our lives as an equal. And because of that, it's changed the approach from every council, every overreaching authority that trends our lives, which means we're unable to forward the predominant culture of this country, and that's why it's being eroded.
Well, I think one thing that would certainly help us to turn it around would be a bit of cash. And I believe, Alex, that you found a source of it.
Yes, well, we are sitting on...
Remember your friends.
Yes, well, yes, certainly, yeah, I do. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. But we are sitting on liquid gold. Another 1 billion barrels of oil have been found underneath our fair lands. And, of course, our insane net zero czar, Ed Miliband, has, of course, stopped us exploring any new and drilling for any new oil in this country. And it comes at a time... of course, because we're heading up to winter, aren't we? Winter is literally coming, and it's going to be a difficult time this year because your energy bills, despite promising they would be lower, are indeed going to be going up again. In fact, some of the 6 big energy bosses sat in Parliament this week and told our Energy and Security Committee that thanks to net zero, you will indeed be paying hundreds of pounds more on your energy bills over the next few years. So it looks like the Secretary of State for Net Zero may have told some untruths or relied on some information that perhaps was a little bit ideological to tell us that your bills were coming down. But this is the problem. because Rachel Reeves now sees that net zero is creating a further black hole in our economy. And guess what she's planning on doing? Well, new reports say that the Treasury are exploring another wealth tax to go on top of the one that they're planning, with it perhaps directly on your income tax, that would fill the black hole made by net zero. So you're getting taxed on taxed on taxed, just so you can heat your home because of this ideological rubbish.
Yeah, that's very well said. And didn't even use an auto cue. Ladies and gentlemen, didn't know you had, didn't you?
Don't need one, everybody. It comes from the heart.
That's the crux, isn't it, of everything I've just said, that it's just yet another tax on us. And I actually feel like a worker ant now. That's all I feel like I am, a worker ant with no control on outcomes either.
Yeah, well, and I think when we think about the poorest in our country, think about pensioners. We think about people who are going to be told they are wealthy. They're going to be told this October they're wealthy people, this November, I beg your pardon, by this Labour government who's meant to be for the working people. What I think is it's disgusting.
Kai, it is beyond doubt that net zero makes energy more expensive. If it didn't, they wouldn't actually have to force people to do it. They would let the market dictate it. Do you think there is actually any chance that this government will either roll back or scrap their commitment to net zero?
No, I think that's what you're seeing. Already there's no net zero sort of wording in what the ministers, including Ed Miliband, are coming out and saying. It's all about sort of being a clean energy superpower. So the wording has changed. And I think they're coming round to the idea that things like some of the oil fields, like Rosebank, for instance, should be approved above Ed Miliband's concerns. Look, I think that I always thought that there should be some sort of middle ground where, you know, it's a sort of classic tragedy of the commons issue, where all these other countries are going to continue on their way, and so why should we be the only ones to do things the right way?
Countries like America, they're definitely on their way. They're on their way to economic prosperity. They're on their way to energy security, and we are not. It's completely
But do you think China, as an example of why renewables aren't the answer, is a nonsense?
They are.
All right, How about we take Norway as an example then? So Norway have got a 2 trillion wealth fund. We have a 3 trillion debt. Okay. And why do we have that? Because we refused to mine fossil fuels in the North Sea.
You can't change that. That was in the 1980s.
True.
But going forward, why are we talking about something that happened in the 1980s? That was a policy discussion.
Going forward, we can change it.
Okay, I think it's relatively obvious. If this actually was the cheapest form of energy, they wouldn't be forcing us to use it.
Yeah.
Bruce, give us a little tease of what you've got coming up.
So I'm going to be talking about the Maccabi Haifa, is it the Maccabi Haifa fans? Yeah. That were banned, sparking uproar and dividing Britain.
Yeah, shameful day for this country. You are with the Saturday 5 live on GBNews.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in, and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 on the People's Channel, GB News. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. Interesting little interaction here between Shelley and Anne-Marie. Shelley says, yes, I'm all for reform, providing they aren't just another WEF party like the last two. That's what worries me. Anne-Marie says, take a leap of faith. I'm a Reform UK councillor. Despite a few hateful posts and snidey remarks in the chamber, is the best thing I ever did because if the ship goes down, my kids can't say, why didn't you try and save it? Well done, Anne-Marie. And I think that is the British spirit, which we need to hear more every single day. We've got, who have we got coming up? We've got Bruce coming up. Bruce, take it away for us.
So, basically, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard this week, I'd be very surprised. We're going to talk about the chaos that's been brewing in Birmingham, where the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans have just been banned from attending their own football match. And make no mistake at all, this is not about safety, it's about identity. British authorities, whether it's the police or event organisers, are now drawing the line not at violence, but at who you are, what you believe, and where you are from, and it's kicked off a national storm. This isn't just a football issue, this is a civil liberties issue. You've now got Jewish football fans being told they are not welcome in British stadiums. Why? Because tensions are high, because politics might offend someone. That's not security, that's targeted censorship. And across the country, people are furious. Jewish communities are outraged, civil rights groups are up in arms, and average Brits are looking around thinking, when did we become a nation that bans peaceful people from public events based on race, religion, or nationality? Some people will argue that this was to do with football hooliganism. However, we have a steep history in this country of addressing football hooliganism. So is it really about football hooliganism, or is it about something else, panel?
Alex?
Yes, it's...
May I ask you on this specifically? This is the country you were born in, the country you love. How did you feel when it was announced that Jews cannot attend a football game in the United Kingdom?
It's a disgraceful set of circumstances. We are kowtowing to a radical group of Islamists in this country who believe sectarianism is the way forward, and they are doing so and have been doing so for a very long time. However, now they have political power, they are in institutions, they have authority now, and therefore they can use it. And they have been lobbying our police, who have, as you can see many times in many places like Birmingham, who have bent over backwards for some of these people, and it's paying off for them. It's paying off, and British people have sat by and allowed it. And the thing that really annoys me, Will, is that while they will all scream Islamophobia, they will scream xenophobia. When it comes to Israeli Jews coming over here, all of a sudden it's for your safety. What about that, hey?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that worries me most about this when I was listening to it today, Will, was when they said that community leaders were consulted in order to make this decision. Well, the last time they consulted community leaders in one of these areas, it was over a young autistic boy that scuffed the Quran, and we saw his mother kowtowing to a group of imams with a headscarf on. Then they consulted community leaders over the Batley school teacher who used a picture of the Prophet Muhammad in one of his lessons and has been in hiding ever since. We are not speaking up for that teacher, by the way. We have got to see this for what it is. We are reducing this country into sectarian ghettos, but unfortunately those ghettos are getting bigger and bigger and more powerful and are actually now starting to ostracise certain groups, and they're starting with our Jewish community, who are tiny. There are 300,000 Jews in this country.
Well, globally, they're tiny.
And we need to protect our citizens who do not act in this way.
To me, it feels almost like victim shaming. And on the left, you're very quick to point out the dangers of victim shaming in another context. Why is it, Kai, that it is the Israeli supporters who are somehow being banned as opposed to the people who we are worried about actually committing the violence?
Well, I think that's the intention of this ban, is because in an ideal world you would have them policed properly to stop the people who are Jew haters, some people who would cause harm to the Israeli fans, but that is not practicable, because I do genuinely believe, and I know we all sort of scoff at operational concerns and so on, but we all know that the state of the police, the state of the criminal justice system, simply cannot cope with the potential downside of this, which is, by the way, and we've had the Manchester Arena terror attack, and we've had a recent terror attack in a synagogue. It's so easy, I'd imagine, and don't have any experience of it myself, for terrorists to target a small group in a confined space.
But
that's what they're concerned about. I do genuinely believe that, but it's wrong, of course.
But it's not what they're concerned about, because the police have said very clearly that they banned these visitors on the advice of the Safety Committee. And you know who's on the Safety Committee?
I know, I've seen.
Right, so it's a biased Safety Committee who don't particularly like
clear, just because you guys, the audience may not.
Okay, so the Safety Committee is made up of councillors in Birmingham who are all of a particular faith, who don't want these Jewish supporters coming over, and they have won. To say what you've just said is a nonsense. 32 weekends in our town in London, the police have policed 100,000 pro-Palestine, some of them very, very aggressive, and they've managed it quite well.
What's really interesting, Renee, is what he's actually, what Kai, you have inadvertently admitted to, is the fact that actually we can't keep those Jewish people safer because you believe that actually there might be terrorists in this country right now who would go out and kill them.
Well, yes, Alex, obviously, just like every single country in the world.
No, not like every single country in the world.
Alex.
How many terrorist attacks have happened in Poland?
Yes, Alex, there are extremists of every wing. There are extremists on the right, there are extremists on the left. To claim that that is somehow surprising is a nonsense.
But we also know where most of the extremism comes from.
Yes.
Do we? Because that is not
statistically proven.
I was just going to say, because Kai, you've dodged the question. There are no terrorist attacks in Poland. This doesn't happen in every country around the world, like Sadiq Khan and many other people have told us. It doesn't. It happens here in Britain because we failed to deal with radical Islamism in this country. And I'm fed up of people on the left excusing it and going, well, actually, let's just ban Israeli Jews from coming here because there's too many terrorists running around Britain. It's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
That is exactly right, and it is backed up by the data. The overwhelming majority of people on the MI5 watch list are Islamically motivated extremists. Still loads more to come tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the show, including and many things. So we're going to trigger tantrums, bunch of five. You're going to have a lot of fun in the second hour coming up on GBNews.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure is returning, bringing outbreaks of rain and stronger winds, followed by blustery showers as we go through tomorrow and into the new week. So we lose this area of our high pressure that's moving its way eastwards, replaced by low pressure out to the west. So back to the rest of this evening. The clearest skies and holding on to the driest conditions across eastern areas. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain, heaviest and most persistent, moving in from the west, especially across Northern Ireland and the far southwest into Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, with the strong winds, the cloud, the outbreaks of rain, it is going to be a mild start to Sunday morning. So having a look at Sunday morning across Scotland, that's where we hold on to some glimmers of brightness first thing across the far north, but out to the west, that's where we're already seeing outbreaks of rain. Now, the heaviest rain is going to be across Northern Ireland, most persistent here, especially to the south and east. That's where there is a yellow Met Office warning, where we could see some localised flooding in places. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain again across western areas, but drier to the southeast of England to start Sunday morning. But that will soon be replaced by cloud and outbreaks of rain as this band of rain pushes its way north and eastward. So as we come into Sunday afternoon, many places seeing a pretty unsettled end to the weekend. But there will be some glimmers of sunshine just coming in to the far southwest of England and Northern Ireland later on in the day. Otherwise, temperatures holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So through Monday, we hold on to the area of low pressure, some strong winds across the south, but also some blustery showers, heavy and possibly thundery, driest across Scotland, where we'll see some sunshine. We'll hold on to some showers on Tuesday, but generally a bit drier, and then some longer spells of rain for some of us on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, plus you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the biggest show on Saturday night, UK TV. It's the Saturday 5, live from the GBNews studios in London, England. I'm Will Kingston, along with Dr. Renee Hunderkamp, Bruce Hamill, and, according to Leslie, someone who has socialist leanings but is otherwise sensible, Kai Wilshaw.
Well, I'm here as well.
Tonight on the show in the second hour, we'll be joined by Sir Ian Duncan Smith, who will be telling us just how big a threat China really is.
Watch out, you guys! Picky pockets! Picky pockets! Watch your belongings open, your bag is open.
Watch out for the pickpockets.
And our Saturday scrap. Should we finally defund the BBC?
And make sure to get your questions in for Ask the Five.
And what on earth is going on here?
If we can free Palestine, it explodes everything.
Exploded my brain. You're with the Sunday 5 at 7 p.m. on GB News. Thank you very much for staying with us, ladies and gentlemen, on The People's Show, on the People's Channel, the Saturday 5. We want to hear your views. Please send them through to gbnews.com/your say. We've got the Saturday scrap coming up as well. You can still vote on what you want us to be debating. But before we get to that, let's get your Saturday night news with the wonderful Bethany Elsey.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who accused Prince Andrew of sexually abusing her when she was a teenager, says she's been vindicated by the stripping of his royal titles. Prince Andrew says repeated headlines about him are distracting from the work of the king, but continues to deny any wrongdoing. Andrew had already stopped using his military titles over his friendship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Virginia Giuffre took her own life earlier this year. Her memoir, to be released on Tuesday, will say that after reaching an out-of-court settlement, Prince Andrew imposed a one-year gagging order against her to prevent tarnishing Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. Hamas has announced it will hand over the bodies of 2 more Israeli hostages within the next hour. They have so far returned 10 of the 28 deceased and all 20 living hostages. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt will remain closed until all hostages are returned home. That's despite the Palestinian embassy in Egypt announcing earlier that it would reopen on Monday, allowing Palestinians there to return home. President Donald Trump has urged Ukraine to make a deal with Russia to end the war. Volodymyr Zelensky was hoping to use yesterday's meeting at the White House to secure Tomahawk missiles and offered thousands of drones in exchange. Meanwhile, Trump has confirmed another summit with Vladimir Putin will be held in Budapest, although suggested Zelensky won't be directly involved in those discussions. The Home Office says it expects to hold a meeting next week to address a ban on Israeli football fans attending a game against Aston Villa in November. It wants police to set out the extra resources needed to allow the game to go ahead safely. Birmingham Council banned Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters over safety concerns after classifying the game as high risk. It's after violence occurred during a Europa League match between Ajax and Maccabi in Amsterdam last year. A new blood test could help speed up diagnosis for more than 50 types of cancer. That's according to a new study in the US, which has found the Gallery test correctly picked up a wide range of cancers at an early stage, before symptoms even appear. It's also highly accurate at ruling out cancer. The test is being trialled on the NHS and could change the way screening for the disease is carried out. And Ange Postecoglou has been sacked as head coach of Nottingham Forest after less than 40 days in the position. The announcement came after the side's 3-0 defeat against Chelsea at the City Ground, adding to the no-win streak of the last 8 matches. Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis is now looking on the hunt for the club's 3rd manager of the season. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Watching GB News live across the US and the world. We are taking over, isn't it exciting? It's Saturday night, you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Will Kingston, it says Alex Armstrong. We really need to sort out that auto cue, Alex, although I have a suspicion that there may be some scheming involved there. I can promise you're in for a very lively hour, but before we get stuck into our bunches of 5 and our triggered tantrums, it's our main event, the Saturday Scrap. Ofcom has said the BBC breached the broadcasting code over its failure to say a narrator of a Gaza documentary was the son of a Hamas official. An investigation by the watchdog Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone, has concluded that the program was materially misleading. Ofcom has ordered the BBC to broadcast a primetime statement about its conclusions. Is this the final straw? Should we defund the BBC? Seconds out, ding, 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 and I'm going to hand over to Kai Wilshaw.
Thank you very much. No, we should obviously not defund the BBC. I keep getting so confused about why we are still having this discussion. And it usually comes from the same idiots that sort of say that the royal family should continue just because it's been there for so long and that it gives us so much soft power all across the world and at best is a neutral voice. Well, sorry, but if you are looking for one example of global Britain's soft power that any other country would kill for, it is the BBC. Now, doubtless, they make mistakes because there are thousands of good-working, hard-working journalists in the BBC, and some of them turn out to be bad eggs, just like most organisations. But here are some of the solid facts. 279 million people per week tune into some variation of the BBC's output. That's not even including the stories it puts out and breaks online. It is the most respected media brand in the world. You know, it's only the British people get this for 43 pence a day. It is incredible to me that we would seek to flush that down the toilet. And in a world where the vast majority of what we see is dictated by global tech firms and American companies, I thank my lucky stars that we have a neutral voice in the BBC who's respected across the world, and long may that continue.
Bruce.
So I'll just counter everything Kai said there. The BBC's biggest problem is its lack of trust. Over 40% of the public in a YouGov 2024 poll said they believed it was biased. On sensitive issues like Israel and Palestine, it's shown blatant inconsistencies, refusing to label Hamas a terrorist organisation for months, despite it being legally recognised as one by the United Kingdom's government. Using terms like militants or fighters instead of terrorists, softening public perception, downplaying or delaying reports of atrocities against Israeli civilians while amplifying unverified Palestinian casualty claims. This isn't journalism, it's narrative control, and it's why trust is collapsing both domestically and abroad. Then let's move on to the licence fee. £170 a year that most people would claim is a tax. Yes, you can get out of it, but you then end up with relentless letters from the BBC saying that if you are operating a TV without one, that's somehow illegal. And 45,000 people a year, mostly working class, are took to court for this reason. Firstly, it's regressive. The pensioner on 15k pays the same as someone on 150k. Tax in disguise is what it is. It's enforced by the courts, set by government, and funds a public body. That's textbook definition of a tax. And to be quite honest, I don't think they've made a decent programme for a very long time.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I am interested in these allegations of bias because I've thought about this quite a bit in relation to Brexit, but also now we're seeing it with the Israel-Gaza war. Allegations of bias. What's amazing about the BBC is that it is, in all intents and purposes, a neutral voice. And what I think is proof of that is what you can always see in these big flashpoint issues, whether it's Brexit, whether it's something like Israel-Gaza, where I think actually this might fall down, but the amount of people who claim it's biased on one side is also almost identical to the amount that claims it's biased on the other. It can never please everybody. It can never please everybody, and that's for the better. And in this case, it's obviously made a huge error. But is that a reason to defund the BBC entirely? I think not.
So, Kai, we've seen reports come out that looked at the approach of the BBC towards the Gaza conflict, and we've seen stats that showed that, for example, the use of the word genocide was used exponentially more against Israel than against Hamas, which actually did commit a genocide. Well, I think we've all heard the allegations of left-wing bias at the BBC. Well, Renee, I'm actually quite interested, though, in the cultural point that Kai had made, which is it is a very strong global brand. Surely that's worth throwing a bit of money at in order to maintain that strong global brand.
Yeah, no. Firstly, I don't want the strong global brand. That's it. I don't want the strong global world. I want a sovereign nation who's in charge of themselves. What upsets me about the BBC is I can give you countless examples on the Gaza situation where just this week where they said there was an exchange of hostages going on. There you go. But let's leave Gaza aside. They are indoctrinating our children through their BBC Bite Size, which talks about the climate emergency and 2 mummies and 2 daddies and the 5-year-old who actually thinks they're born in the wrong body. This goes on all of the time. They are a mouthpiece for ideologies. That's what they are. And I don't want to pay for that. And anyone with half a brain shouldn't want to pay for that.
Alex?
Yeah, I tend to find that the BBC presents itself as an unbiased, sort of basically a taxpayer-funded, it's licence fee pay, it's the same sort of thing, really, taxpayer-funded institution that should basically be telling the truth, be reporting the news. We often find that they're not reporting half the news that's going on in this country. And the reason why British people are so fed up with institutions and establishments, institutions like the BBC, is because for a very long time they haven't been telling us the full facts about stories. For example, there are some illegal migrant stories that are, rather than it saying illegal migrant rapes woman, for example, it will be man rapes woman. And these are the sorts of buffers they put in to try and condition you, manipulate you. And I think that is one of the reasons why people are switching off the BBC.
I'm going to say that, and I don't think you're entirely wrong, right? But I always think that the BBC in so many of these approaches is just so overly cautious, so criticised from the left and the right, that it tries to get this middle ground where it can't set a really strong opinion either way. I think that is how they get themselves into all these stupid muddles. And on the Israel-Gaza stuff, yes, I know that there've been massive inaccuracies or inconsistencies. But also there are people, who think, and who have also extensively reported on and surveyed, the bias it has for pro-Israel. So you can never win as the BBC, but the answer is not to defund it, because it can always be seen as a voice, a neutral voice that does report what happens in a way that can't really be seen as ideological.
Do you know what? But the thing is, I actually agree with you there on something you said there, that yes, it shouldn't be defunded, but it should be a choice. I should have the choice if I want to pay that subscription. It's like, call it what you want, subscription, tax. It should not be a licence levied on people. It should be a choice. If I don't want to watch Netflix anymore, I can cancel my subscription. I don't get any backlash from it.
Imagine a country where we prosecute people
not
having a
TV licence.
Say that out loud. And you think, oh,
it's
only somewhere like China would
it
do
is
that.
insane. Well, the BBC, right of reply, in July, the BBC published a review that found that the programme produced by Hoyo Films breached editorial guidelines. Tim Davie, the Director-General, admitted that the BBC had failed in its duties. A BBC spokesman said the Ofcom ruling is in line with the findings of Peter Johnson's review, that there was significant failing in the documentary in relation to the BBC's editorial guidelines on accuracy, which reflects Rule 2.2 of Ofcom's Broadcasting Code. We have apologised for this and we accept Ofcom's decision in full. We will comply with the sanctions as soon as the date and wording are finalised. Make of that what you will. But now, time is ticking away for my favourite giveaway on British television. It is a 4-berth, yes, that's right, a 4-berth motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. Here's all the details that you need to make it yours.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat at this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Just an extraordinary vehicle. Still to come tonight.
Fitness as a presence is cannibalistic in its nature. It steals.
Yes, trigger tantrums, ladies and gentlemen. But first, we'll be joined by the illustrious Sir Ian Duncan Smith to discuss the rising threat of China to Britain. You're with the Saturday 5 on GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Please get in touch with us, gbnews.com/your say. The comments are coming thick and fast. Stationary Traveller says, on the BBC, I think Kai's arguments are 30 years out of date. These days, I agree with the others. Biased news, biased choices of news, ideologically soaked content. I think there may be something in that. I think there was a day when the BBC did look at the pursuit of truth as the guiding principle of journalism. Sadly, I don't think that day is longer with us. Howard, the ex-Labor supporter, never again, great name. So why can't the BBC raise their funding like independent television? They might just have to improve the quality of programs they produce, to Bruce's point. Thank you very much for your contributions. Keep them coming, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it's the story which has dominated the front pages all week, implicating everyone from the Prime Minister to Prince Andrew. China. The row has deepened over the abandonment of the spying trial, with Sir Keir Starmer facing questions after a line from Labor's manifesto appeared in a witness statement. And now China is threatening consequences if the new mega embassy isn't approved, I should say, in London. To discuss this, I'm pleased to welcome former leader of the Conservative Party and MP for Chingford and Woodford Green, Sir Ian Duncan Smith. Ian, an absolute delight to have you on. Can you let me know what is the latest in this ongoing saga and what's your take on it?
Well, this whole saga is because of the Labour government's obsession with having to do a trade arrangement, trade deal, whatever you want to call it, with China. So the spy saga, where these people were meant to be prosecuted, collapsed. We now know quite a lot of detail why it collapsed, and a lot of that is to do with the Labour government's behaviour with the Crime Prosecution Service. What actually happened was that they were required to hand a continuance notice, really, to the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, and also the CPS. And that all that was required as a result of a case that had happened just before was that they needed to say, essentially, that China posed a continuing threat. They didn't do that for 4 months. They got bogged down in just not answering the CPS. Finally, in the end, they put together a series of notes, didn't meet the requirement. And worse than that, we now know from the documents released, they actually just pulled something out of the Labour manifesto, talking some nonsense about, deal with them in one way or the other. Complete idiocy. It had nothing to do with the case. And that was their way of saying basically they didn't want the prosecution to go ahead. And so the CPS decided they couldn't proceed with this and they dropped it. Now, you can argue the CPS might have made more effort to go and do it, but the truth is the government should have gone hard on this and made it very clear China's a threat. And they're so desperate about upsetting the Chinese, that's really where the problem arose. And now we've got the embassy now, this ridiculous super embassy, which will have another 200 spies threatening lots of British citizens, myself included. I'm sanctioned by the Chinese government, but also a lot of Hong Kong dissidents who have fled, and we've got these illegal police stations. Government doesn't do anything about it. So it's a complete mess. It's the biggest threat we face since the ending of the Cold War, is the growth and power and threatening nature of China, both in China and externally.
That's a really interesting comment, and that's something that we were actually talking about on this show last week. It feels to me, and like we're talking a lot about the Middle East, we're talking a lot about the threat from Russia, but it doesn't feel like we are serious enough about the geopolitical threat from China. Do you think that's reasonable? And if so, how do we raise the alarm more around what could be a very serious situation in the Taiwan Strait before the decade is out?
Yeah, well, let's just deal with what China actually does and who it's allied with. I mean, right now, I would call it the axis of totalitarian states are all in league with each other. North Korea, China, Russia, Iran are the key players in this, but there are others like Myanmar, which has got this terrible regime involved. Now, China internally is unbelievably brutal. It practices wide-scale slave labor. We buy products over here, particularly solar arrays, that are made using slave labor. They're carrying out what I believe to be a genocide in Xinjiang, where they take the men and they're put into slave labor camps, millions of them, and also they take the women and forcibly sterilize them. The birth rate in Xinjiang has gone off the edge of a cliff. And the young children are taken to re-education camps where they learn to be Han Chinese, not Uyghur. So they have to stop using their own language, they have to start speaking essentially in Mandarin, and at the same time learn all about what it is to be a Chinese citizen. But they do the same in Tibet. There's 250,000 men have gone into slave labor in Tibet. They're doing it now in Outer Mongolia, which is a part of China. So it goes on. So that's just what they do in China. They're threatening Taiwan. But the main thing is, just think about this for a second. Russia could never have invaded Ukraine had they not had the backing of China. China finances Russia at the moment. It buys huge amounts of its oil and gas. It makes sure that they're not short of weapons. It did the rapprochement with North Korea. North Korea now provides millions of artillery rounds and everything else they can provide, small arms, etc. They've even got 10,000 or so troops sitting in that war as well. Then you've got Iran. Iran's been supplying them with massive amounts of these drones. Also, you have to say that the whole attack in Gaza, I believe, was partly due to taking the pressure off Russia, where Iranian-backed militias actually brutally, in case of Hamas, attacked and murdered, a couple of thousand Israelis and took a lot of prisoners. And the point is that all of that started, I believe, as part of this incredible support network for Russia, which is at the heart China. Now, one last point. China now has about 130 times the capacity to build naval ships than America does and Europe. And any one shipyard in China at the moment builds more naval ships than the whole of the United States. You tell me we aren't seeing the development of a threat right in front of us, and all we want to do is get on bended knee and kiss the backside of China. That seems to be the Labour Party policy.
Yeah, I mean, Ian, hi. This is Dr. Renee Hunderkamp. It's really interesting listening to what you say. I'm assuming that we would, under any other circumstances, if somebody told us what you've just told us goes on in China, we would actually have nothing to do with this regime. So one has to assume that we are so inveigled with them from an economic point of view that we need to do some business with them. So if you were to sit down with Keir Starmer this week and you had to give him 3 reasons or 3 non-negotiables as to path our way forward with China, what would they be?
Well, stop the policy, first of all, of trying to get a trade arrangement. Right now, we have a £40 billion deficit in trade with China. So China sells us vast amounts of goods, more than we do. The second thing he has to do is to stop them flooding our market with cheap batteries, cheap solar arrays, and most importantly, cheap electric cars. We won't have a car industry if they do this trade arrangement with China, because they'll just dump. They don't want to trade with us. They want to dump all their overproduced goods at the moment. That will kill the car industry off, and many others too. And the final thing is, we've got to recognize that we now have to start leading the way in the West to recognize the threat that is posed to us and our way of life. China had this big meeting in Shanghai, I think it was about 2 months ago. And there they had all of these gangsters from North Korea, from Russia and Iran, I believe. But he's arm in arm with the North Korean president, who murders more people in North Korea than you can imagine, and the Russian president, Putin. And he says, we will form a new world order. Honestly, the beauty of totalitarian leaders is they always tell you what they're going to do. It's us, the West, that doesn't want to believe them, and we're appeasing them at the moment, and we shouldn't do it. We should say we're going to reshore a lot of our industry, start bringing stuff back, and make sure that we really, really know who our real threat and enemy is from, and it's from China and Russia and its allies.
So, Ian, it's so interesting because we had a bit of a debate about this on the panel earlier, and one of our panellists asked me, was I prepared to just cut off trade with China and the consequences of that? It sounds to me like the answer to that from your perspective is yes, we must.
Well, the answer is very simple. It's time we started working with countries that have democracies and have the rule of law and are likely to treat your businesses okay. I mean, I've lost count. I've lost count of the number of companies that have come to me and said that they backed out of China now because you go there, they steal your IP, they reproduce your product without telling you, and so it goes on. I mean, there are countries like India we should be doing much more with. I see that Apple has started moving their iPhone production into India at the moment, because at least they have the rule of law there and they have a democracy. And there are other countries, a part of the Commonwealth, many of the Commonwealth are actually likely to be helpful to us in this particular case. And that's really what we're talking about. Start moving our trade, our business, to countries that we know will respond to proper law and proper process. And that is not China. And it's not Russia, it's not this axis. But we won't do it. Why? Because businesses rushed over there in the hope of cheap trade, that they could get cheap labor, didn't ask too many questions about slave labor. They break all the WTO rules about subsidizing. So yet we turn a blind eye to China, and we've got to stop doing it. We've got to say, look, you step up to the rules, we don't do business with you. And we're going to bring our industry back, or bring it to countries that we know we can trade with. We're inundated with Chinese students at the moment, coming in, learning, postgrad students, going on to security contracts. How stupid is that? Ending up going straight back to China with details. I mean, honestly, governments have been really stupid about this, and this is like the 1930s all over again. We didn't want to listen, and in the end, 60 million people died, and we don't want to reach that, so we've got to start moving now.
Staggering.
Well, that's, I think, very powerful and poignant words to leave our audience with, Sir Ian. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, and hopefully more politicians heed your message. Still to come tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
If we can free Palestine, it explodes everything.
Yes, someone who perhaps isn't as geopolitically savvy as Ian Duncan Smith. Yes, trigger tantrums are coming up, but next, well, you'll need a digital ID to buy a beer. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The best place to be across the Mediterranean at the moment is Italy. A lot of fine weather following some wet conditions earlier in the week. That wet weather now moving into Greece, and another spell of rain on the way for parts of Portugal, northwest Spain as well. A damp spell here, but with southwesterly winds, temperatures actually above average. And then this gap in systems through the central part of the Mediterranean. Plenty of sunshine through Italy. Rain clouds clearing into Greece. Very wet indeed for Athens.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure is returning, bringing outbreaks of rain and stronger winds, followed by blustery showers as we go through tomorrow and into the new week. So we lose this area of our high pressure that's moving its way eastwards, replaced by low pressure out to the west. So back to the rest of this evening. The clearest skies and holding on to the driest conditions across eastern areas. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain, heaviest and most persistent, moving in from the west, especially across Northern Ireland and the far southwest into Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, with the strong winds, the cloud, the outbreaks of rain, it is going to be a mild start to Sunday morning. So having a look at Sunday morning across Scotland, that's where we hold on to some glimmers of brightness first thing across the far north, but out to the west, that's where we're already seeing outbreaks of rain. Now, the heaviest rain is going to be across Northern Ireland, most persistent here, especially to the south and east. That's where there is a yellow Met Office warning, where we could see some localised flooding in places. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain again across western areas, but drier to the southeast of England to start Sunday morning. But that will soon be replaced by cloud and outbreaks of rain as this band of rain pushes its way north and eastward. So as we come into Sunday afternoon, many places seeing a pretty unsettled end to the weekend. But there will be some glimmers of sunshine just coming in to the far southwest of England and Northern Ireland later on in the day. Otherwise, temperatures holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So through Monday, we hold on to the area of low pressure, some strong winds across the south, but also some blustery showers, heavy and possibly thundery, driest across Scotland, where we'll see some sunshine. We'll hold on to some showers on Tuesday, but generally a bit drier, and then some longer spells of rain for some of us on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too.
From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, the People's Show on the People's Channel, GB News. Get in touch with us, gbnews.com/your say. What a fascinating interview that was with Sir Ian Duncan Smith. Comments coming in from that. Mike has said the problem with China is that they cannot innovate. They steal technology, they copy and emulate. When it comes to weaponry, just as with Russia, they're behind the West and they know it. Well, a couple of things that Sir Ian said there would perhaps cause some concern in how quickly they are catching up. But Mike, for all of our sakes, I hope the West maintains its supremacy and we maintain global Western liberal democratic values. All that being said, it is now time for Bunch of Five. Yeah, I'll kick off with what I thought was a fantastic little story. Vigilantism is on the rise in the UK, partly because people are losing trust in the police at a rapid rate. Robert Jenrick's doing some fantastic work hitting the streets and making sure that you pay your train ticket. But there's another bloke who I want to call attention to. His name is, and if I can get this, Diego Galdino, who's made it his mission in tourist parts of London, for example, outside Buckingham Palace, to keep an eye out for pickpockets and then to shame them whenever they are in the act of criminality. I think we have a video here to show.
Watch out, you guys, picky pockets! Picky pockets! Watch your belongings open, your bag is open.
That is his now famous catch cry in these tourist areas. Picky pockets, watch out. Picky pockets. Well, look, for what it's worth, I think if the police aren't going to cut down on crime in London, if Sadiq Khan's not going to do anything about it, Diego, congratulations, well done. What do you make of it, Alex?
Yeah, I'm quite glad to see a bit of vigilantism in London, frankly, because the police just simply can't, there's not enough of them to do the job of protecting Londoners anymore. And unfortunately, they're arresting too many people, worrying about tweets, and they are worrying about people having their property snatched, thousands of pounds out of their hands. There are people who come over here as tourists and they go, why am I reading signs on the road of Oxford Street, the busiest tourist street in Britain, probably, wondering whether my phone's going to get snatched out of my hand? It's bonkers.
Kai, that looks like a pretty bad Batman costume. What do you make of vigilantism?
I think it's a slippery slope, isn't it? Because then what you see when this becomes normalised and this narrative is, oh, the police don't do anything, if people then take it into their own hands for really quite serious crimes or anything in between, it can get out of hand pretty quickly. But this is just a copycat, isn't it? There was the famous Attenzione pickpocket lady in Venice.
Yes.
Credit
to people with something inoffensive like this that helps people out.
It's good. It creates a bit of fear for these people, doesn't it?
And this only happens because the streets are deemed as lawless now for petty crime.
Right.
This is not petty crime.
Yeah. But it's amazing now how things like stealing iPhones has just become a normalised part of London life. It's very sad. Renee, what have you got for us?
OK, so there was a women's rights conference in Brighton this week, Philia, which was the largest grassroots feminist gathering in Europe, where they talked about things like domestic violence, male violence, safety for lesbians, for anything to do with women. And it was absolutely vandalised before it even started by, you guessed it, the trans activists, because women are not allowed to have their own space, their own views and discuss it amongst themselves. The windows of the conference centres were smashed, there was spray painted all over it, and apparently, according to the trans group that did it, it was because this group of women are the most offensive in the world ever, and they once had J.K. Rowling there.
I thought we were past all this stuff. Bruce, after the Castro review, after the Supreme Court decision, I really thought that the tide had turned, but obviously not.
Well, it seems like you've had women's rights or people advocating for women's rights and women's freedoms for decades now. And it just seems like we're now going backwards. We're trying to reverse it backwards. With violence, with vandalism. And the one thing that I picked up out of this, I covered this as well during the week, had anybody else done that, if it had been anyone associated with the right, it would have been all over the front page headlines. It would have been national news, condemnation, fascist and racist everywhere, but it was literally brushed under the rug. No one cared. No one cared.
No, and you know, as far as the Supreme Court ruling is going, there are peers in the House of Lords at the moment trying to work out a way to overturn it.
Yeah, and we've also spoken on this show how even despite that ruling, the administrative layer in the institutions like the NHS, for example, are doing everything they can to skirt around the law. Alex, what do you have for us?
Yeah, more worrying news. Unfortunately, a Jewish man who was wearing the Star of David, obviously a religious symbol, was arrested after he was counter-protesting outside an embassy in London. Of course, pro-Palestinian protesters claimed it antagonised them. So there you have it. Can you imagine if I went around and started claiming that different religious symbols antagonised me and therefore had people arrested for them? This is the problem, isn't it? And it constantly shows the deep-rooted anti-Semitism in this country. We scream about Islamophobia, but we never ever talk about anti-Semitism. We never have to crack down on that, do we? And I think this is a worrying sign of things to come in Britain.
More worrying. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting.
It is disgusting, and you never hear them being chastised for antagonising the Jews as they shout globalise the intifada. Because what happened in Manchester was exactly that. That's okay. They can antagonise who they want, but they can't be antagonised.
But this is the problem we have got to with the legal framework now in this country, which is it is based on subjective feelings of particular people as opposed to objective realities. I can be offended by anything. This story offends me. This story offends me immensely. But that is why, when you think about free speech, you don't look at it in terms of the subjective lens. Do you feel harm? You have to have an objective standard. And we've completely forgotten that. And that's where you get to the point where people wearing Stars of David, who are now being put in trouble. I think it's disgusting.
I've got Jewish friends that take off their kippah, who take off their Star of David, who try and make themselves look non-Jewish to go into town. And the thing about our policing, Will, and what you've just said is they police for the majority. That's what's going on. Just like the football match in Birmingham, they're policing for the majority. Just like the pro-Palestinian marches, where they've arrested people for holding up signs that say Hamas.
It's a disgrace.
What majority?
It's a disgrace. No, we'll park it there for now. Bruce, we'll park it there for now. Bruce, what have you got for us?
So, guys, I'm sure you're all aware of digital ID, and the big question has always been, how will they enforce it? Well, one way is to make you produce it when you're buying a beer. That's right. Lately, this week, it's come out that when you go to purchase alcohol, you will need to produce a digital ID. It is not being made mandatory. It will be an option you can opt in for privacy and comfort.
Well, all I'll say is go back in the back catalogue of the Saturday 5 and look at the wonderful reporting that Renee has done on digital ID, where she has said that, of course, this is a slippery slope and will lead to these types of consequences. Kai, what have you got for us?
Shocking ID to buy alcohol. Who'd have thunk it?
Digital ID.
Kai, what have you
I saw this week that Waymo, which is a self-driving car startup from the US, is set to release its cars onto the streets of London. I'm pretty mixed on this one. I've seen them over on the streets of San Francisco, and it strikes me a little bit like the techno-optimists, the people that would have us believe that tech solves all our problems, actually failed to realise or to solve problems that are just visible for all of us to see in the streets. You have this horrible thing in San Francisco where you see all these amazing glossy cars driving around next to people shooting up drugs in the street. I mean, their priorities are out of whack.
There's a bit of a difference there, Kai. You're talking about state problems that the government is meant to fix and private companies innovating.
But the fact that you think that
as much as I'm not a huge fan of driverless vehicles, you're conflating two very different.
No, I don't think I am.
I think you are.
I think you're being willfully ignorant.
Alex, we don't look to lefties for logical consistency. Would you be comfortable if your village or your city had self-driving cars?
No.
GBNews.com/you'll let us know. Still to come tonight.
If we can free Palestine, it explodes everything.
It explodes my brain. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
After Diana's tragic death, and he goes into a lot of the detail in Spare, Harry was traumatized, in denial even, and also there's no question he took to drugs and drink as a part of a panacea. He was able to find himself in the military, but there's absolutely no doubt that that unquestionably changed him.
Well, I mean, both boys did go through it. I mean, like you, I covered the funeral. I stood there and watched him walk behind their mother's coffin. I mean, it did affect both boys, didn't it? But it's Harry is the one that seemed to be searching and angry more than his older brother. And so, I mean, Meghan being a mother figure, it does kind of make sense.
Well, in that sense, it conceivably could. I mean, in the mirror, he was talking about, even fantasizing, I suggest, about Diana living in California as a sort of granny figure, which I have to say, it's very hard to anticipate what would have happened, but there's absolutely no doubt that that was the catalyst, and truly, truly tragic.
Yeah, of course it was. It was horrible, and it's a horrific thing to happen to two young boys like that. What do you think Meghan would make of this comment, that she is a mother figure to her husband?
Well, I think that she would appreciate the fact that of the two of them, she is very definitely the dominant figure. That is definitely what comes across, and that is the way most people interpret the way their relationship. And I mean, I think they're still in love. I think that the relationship on the whole is working very well. It's hard to be precise because the net is flooded with rumours, as you know, about everything.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 on GB News, the People's Channel. And it really is the People's Channel. It is what makes us different. It is that sense of community. Darren has said on Your Say, anyone having a beer? If so, cheers, enjoy your night with GB News. To which Nick has replied, the San Miguel is flowing, tappers on the table, and Arsenal is still top of the league, top draw. Fantastic. Maureen finally says, Sauvignon Blanc and hot chilli with rice and side salad on the hob. Wonderful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having your dinner and your Saturday night with us. We certainly appreciate it. Now it is time for Triggered Tantrums, and I am going to kick us off. It is your ticket to this week's Ringmasters of Rage, Clowns of Collapse and Acrobats of Absurdity, and they just get more and more loony every single week. Now, this one popped up on my social media this week, and as I said earlier, we're lucky in this country to have some wonderfully thoughtful geopolitical analysts like Sir Ian Duncan Smith, but then there are others where the quality may be a bit more variable. For example, this take on the Middle Eastern conflict.
Basically, the Death Star apparently has a place in it that if you shoot through that specific place in the Death Star, you explode the entire Death Star. Okay. And so somebody said Palestine is that place. And the construction, the Death Star is like all of it, Sudan, Congo, all of it, everywhere, Nigeria now, everywhere. If we can free Palestine, it explodes everything.
I lost the word.
Alex, what do you make of the Star Wars analysis?
You know, she's such a good actress, right? She's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant actress, I have to say. However, when I see stuff like that, I will never be able to watch that show again with the same mindset of how much of a great actress she is. I'll just be thinking about her abysmal politics.
Yeah.
I'm
Bruce,
fully...
that's a good question.
Yeah.
There are people like someone like a Robert De Niro, who's a wonderful actor, but a pain in the backside.
Yeah.
Someone like a Steve Coogan, all brilliant, but again, their political views are highly annoying. Does that impact what shows you watch?
Yes, because I fully... The funny thing is, I saw that clip, and I love Star Wars. Everyone who knows me knows I love Star Wars. I love Andor, especially the second season, and I agree with Alex. It really has tainted that now for me to go back and watch it, knowing her... because I just find it just ridiculous what she said.
So, Kai, I'm assuming that you...
Well, this is the same sort of stuff that you would call the left snowflakes for, and here you are, wah, can't watch my show because some actor said something on YouTube I disagree with. Get a grip.
I just won't enjoy it the same way I did before, and that's the point, isn't it?
That's a you problem, Alex, I'm afraid.
It certainly is, and it's a Disney problem because they're hemorrhaging cash because of people like that, and they're constantly forcing his political opinions down everyone who watches Disney Channel shows' throats.
Go woke, go broke. Renee, what do you have for us?
So, I mean, why do people behave so insanely over things like race and, you know, any of these ideologies? We all have a view and we can do it from an intelligent place, but some of these people are just insane, and I'm just going to let you decide for yourself.
As a presence is cannibalistic in its nature. It steals, it colonizes, and it victimizes itself to maintain its status as both victim and oppressor.
I mean, and also, why do they have to do it in a voice?
Yeah,
Kind of like this.
It's that faux sincerity. It all comes to the fact that we are morally virtuous, that we are the kind, compassionate ones extolling our virtue onto the world.
I mean, you all ought to be careful because whiteness, especially women, is cannibalistic.
Can I just say, there's a big show happening, I won't say which one, on the BBC at the moment. It's a rather large audience, and there's a couple of people who happen not to be white. I'm not allowed to say non-white. Apparently, apparently that's racist now. So apparently now the rumours flying around is that all the celebrities on that show are all racist. They're all unconscious bias, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely because when two white people go off a show, no one goes, "Well, that's unconscious bias, is it?" It only happens if it's people of a minority group, and I just think it's absolutely exhausting.
Well, Bruce, a question, because I don't really want to remember back, but we all do, ladies and gentlemen, remember back to those incredibly loony period, I guess around 2020, when the world went insane. Do you think things are starting to turn a bit when it comes to identity politics?
What, worse?
Hopefully better. Do you think we are seeing change? Is there change in the culture?
I don't, because I do generally think it's getting worse. I think there's just more and more categories created over and over and over again, and it doesn't matter who you are, or you can't say anything they've completely dehumanised the word racist. Let's be honest. It's been dished out so much in the last, predominantly since Labour got into power, that yes, it has. Come on, Kai. That word has been used so much in the last 18 months. It's insane. Every person who has an opinion against immigration, irrelevant of colour, race or creed, you're literally branded a racist just for your political views now.
The thing
it's
is,
as simple as that.
You start segmenting people by anything, whether they've got one leg, blonde hair, brown skin, you divide them.
Yes.
But that's such an important point, Bruce, about the use of language, and the left for so long have been so successful at manipulating language to bully people, and we are now at a point where if someone says you're a racist, or you're far right, or you're a Nazi, I think for most people you go, you know what, if that's the price I have to pay to defend my culture, or to defend women, or to defend children, call me a racist, call me far right, call me Nazi. The words have lost their power, and I think that's a very good thing. Don't you, Alex?
I certainly do, yeah. I think we've got to a point now where most people are just desensitised to it all, and they'll go, do you know what, I don't care what you think about my opinions, I'm going to say it anyway, and I'm glad British people just say what you say what you think. Say what you think, and they can't arrest all of us.
Call me a transphobe, call me a Zionist, call me a racist, all of those things, bring them on.
Yeah.
Yep, no, I agree entirely, and we're going to discuss all of that in the third hour. We are getting a replacement in. Cressida Wedden is coming, fan favourite. We're getting rid of the relative weakness on the panel.
Oh, this is a good opportunity. I can pitch you my show, Stern Show, 9 o'clock, Alex Armstrong Tonight. There is clearly a problem with Islamism rising in the UK. I'll be talking about that at 10, but at 9 o'clock, obviously, many countries are now banning the burqa, aren't they? I'm going to be asking whether we should be banning it too, because I think we are falling behind rapidly.
Jeez, the man is an expert at self-promotion. It is just a joy to watch. Don't go anywhere. The Saturday 5 Extra is coming up. We're going to let our hair down. Very exciting. What could possibly go wrong? We'll be back in just a moment.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, low pressure is returning, bringing outbreaks of rain and stronger winds, followed by blustery showers as we go through tomorrow and into the new week. So we lose this area of our high pressure that's moving its way eastwards, replaced by low pressure out to the west. So back to the rest of this evening. The clearest skies and holding on to the driest conditions across eastern areas. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain, heaviest and most persistent, moving in from the west, especially across Northern Ireland and the far southwest into Devon and Cornwall. Otherwise, with the strong winds, the outbreaks of rain, it is going to be a mild start to Sunday morning. So having a look at Sunday morning across Scotland, that's where we hold on to some glimmers of brightness first thing across the far north, but out to the west, that's where we're already seeing outbreaks of rain. Now, the heaviest rain is going to be across Northern Ireland, most persistent here, especially to the south and east. That's where there is a yellow Met Office warning, where we could see some localised flooding in places. Otherwise, outbreaks of rain again across western areas, but drier to the southeast of England to start Sunday morning. But that will soon be replaced by cloud and outbreaks of rain as this band of rain pushes its way north and eastward. So as we come into Sunday afternoon, many places seeing a pretty unsettled end to the weekend. But there will be some glimmers of sunshine just coming in to the far southwest of England and Northern Ireland later on in the day. Otherwise, temperatures holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So through Monday, we hold on to the area of low pressure, some strong winds across the south, but also some blustery showers, heavy and possibly thundery, driest across Scotland, where we'll see some sunshine. We'll hold on to some showers on Tuesday, but generally a bit drier, and then some longer spells of rain for some of us on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the biggest show on Saturday night, UK TV, but in extra form. It's the Saturday Night Fight Night 5 Extra. I'm Will Kingston, delighted to be joined by Dr. Renee Honderkamp. Once again, coming in off the pine, Cressida Wedden, Bruce Hamill and Kai Wilshaw in the third hour of tonight's show. In the third hour of tonight's show, and I haven't even had my beer yet, Zach Polanski's power of enlargement is put to the test.
Wow.
I regret throwing that.
Oh, how can I follow that? But look at this. That beats anything. The heartwarming moment Israeli hostages came home.
How fat is too fat to be Santa Claus?
And it's your chance to ask us anything in Ask the Five.
And by God, beavers are back.
Well, that's quite a tone, change of tone. It's 8 p.m. This is the Saturday 5 on GB News. Yes, welcome to the Saturday 5 Extra, where anything can happen. We've got our drinks ready to go. Cressida's in. Cressida, how are you? How's your day been?
Very well, thank you. I've been at the Battle of Ideas all day today.
How was it?
Great, full of. I'm inspired. I'm having lots of ideas.
I was there too.
I was there as a guest of Dr. Renee, who was not there, but she is speaking tomorrow. Don't miss it. What are you going to be talking about, Dr. Renee?
But should it be so difficult to feed our children?
Sounds spicy. I might tune in.
It actually is, isn't it? It really is. All my son wants is chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
That's all he wants.
Yes.
Like, eat some carrots.
Yes, no, that makes sense. Is it really hard, actually, Renee, to get kids to eat their vegetables?
Well, you know what? The thing is that mothers are now overwhelmed by information from so many sides that it becomes... I was at lunch today with someone with a 4-month-old, and they gave them a bottle, and then they entered what they'd given them on an app on their phone.
Oh, wow. So they're like a diet app. Are they trying to make their baby less fat?
You know, we're making it really hard, and then we're making it hard because of convenience and ultra-processed food, and I'm going to be talking about how to win the battle.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Well, we obviously want to know your views as well. The comments have been coming through all evening. We'd love to see them continue to come through in this third hour. gbnews.com/yoursay. Don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five, which we'll be doing in this hour. No topics are off limits. Before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday Night News with Bethany Elthy.
Good evening. Your top stories from the GB Newsroom. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who accused Prince Andrew of sexually abusing her when she was a teenager, says she's been vindicated by the stripping of his royal titles. Prince Andrew says repeated headlines about him are distracting from the work of the king, but continues to deny any wrongdoing. Andrew had already stopped using his military titles over his scandalous friendship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Virginia Giuffre took her own life earlier this year. Her memoir, to be released on Tuesday, Tuesday will say that after reaching an out-of-court settlement, Prince Andrew imposed a 1-year gagging order against her to prevent tarnishing Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. Hamas has announced it will hand over 2 more bodies of Israeli hostages imminently. They have so far returned 10 of the 28 deceased and all 20 living hostages. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt will remain closed until all hostages are returned home. That's despite the Palestinian embassy in Egypt announcing earlier that it would reopen on Monday, allowing Palestinians there to return home. The Home Office says it expects to hold a meeting next week to address a ban on Israeli football fans attending a game against Aston Villa in November. It wants police to set out the extra resources needed to allow the game to go ahead safely. Birmingham Council banned Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters over safety concerns after classifying the game as high risk. It's after violence occurred during a Europa League match between Ajax and Maccabi in Amsterdam last year. A new blood test could help speed up diagnosis for more than 50 types of cancer. That's according to a new study in the US, which has found the Gallery test correctly picked up a wide range of cancers at an early stage before symptoms even appeared. It's also highly accurate at ruling out cancer. The test is being trialled on the NHS and could change the way screening for the disease is carried out. Ange Postecoglou has been sacked as head coach of Nottingham Forest after less than 40 days in the position. The announcement came after the side's 3-0 defeat against Chelsea at the City Ground, adding to the no-win streak of the last 8 matches. Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis is now on the hunt for a third manager already this season. And 2 British women have become the first all-female rowing crew to travel 8,000 miles across the Pacific non-stop and unsupported.